follows. Number one, authorize the Economic and Workforce Development Department to negotiate and execute with the Center at Blessed Sacrament an amendment to contract C-125534, increasing the amount from $1.5 million to $1,924,356, subject to approval of the city attorney as to form and legality. Number two, authorize the controller to accept up to $10.1 million from CRALA, a designated local authority, and H&H Retail Owner, LLC, and deposit into the newly established Hollywood Redevelopment Project Area Special Fund, and appropriate to account number XXX. The account numbers are not yet identified. Recommendation number three, authorize controller to establish a new account, 22M630, titled The Center at Blessed Sacrament, within the newly established Hollywood Redevelopment Project Area Special Fund number XXX, Department 22, and appropriate therefrom $1,924,356. Number four, authorize the EWDD to expand up to $1,924,356 within the newly established Hollywood Redevelopment Project Area Special Fund number XXX, account 22M630, the Center at Blessed Sacrament, upon presentation of proper documentation. And number five, instruct EWDD to prepare the necessary controller's instructions and make any technical corrections with concurrence of the Chief Legislative Analyst and the CAO to meet the intention of this motion, and instruct the controller to implement these instructions.
Okay, without objection, we will accept those amendments to item 22. And if there's no objection, we will take items 1 through 23 on consent. Seeing no objection, that will be the order. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, let's take item 24, 25 together.
Item number 24 is a motion Buscaino Cedillo relative to CLA with the assistance of the CAO and Economic and Workforce Development Department to report with an analysis of Assembly Bill 2, which authorizes local governments to establish a community revitalization and investment authority in disadvantaged communities. Item number 25 is a motion Krikorian Martinez relative to an instruction to the CLA in concert with the CAO and Economic and Workforce Development Department to report on a program to develop economic incentive areas or zones throughout the city with popular focus on developing the economy in a way that employs the large numbers of local residents in good-paying jobs, maintains local industries, revitalizes underserved communities, and creates industries likely to be critical in a 21st century economy.
Thank you. We've been joined by Council members Nuri Martinez and Gil Cedillo. Our colleagues Buscaino and Krikorian made motions requesting report backs on economic development zones. Some of you may recall last year. Buscaino motion specific to AB2. AB2 is considered to be a new type of CRA zone. It allows local governments to create community revitalization investment authorities, CREAs, and set aside tax increment money for a variety of economic development projects. AB2 is a little less restrictive than the EIFDs and cannot be used as broadly, but we've asked EWDD to provide us with an update and a survey of the two, how they work together, and we'd like to invite the general manager and trusted ally, trusted deputy to the table. Madam General Manager, the floor is yours.
All right. Do you want me to mash them together then, 24 and 25?
Well, you know, maybe talk with one and then the other, just to figure out. I think everyone's got a chart in front of them.
Yeah. Do you have copies of the chart?
I do.
Okay. Everybody's got.
Everyone's got a chart.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. We need one more.
Here.
Well, I was going to get him one, but
Okay.
Wait, hold on. You got 4 pages there?
We have extra copies.
Okay. Front and back. You're good.
3 and this one in the back. You don't have that?
Starts with authority.
Okay, so I'll start
Hold
with,
on a second.
okay.
We're out here. Got it?
Are you going to or no?
You're missing one?
Got yours?
Do you want me to do this? I can do it. Okay. Or why don't you just, where I miss, you can fill in or something?
What's that? Yeah.
If I, yeah, because it starts off with you guys, so I don't want to step on your toes. All right, great, okay. All right.
Okay, I think we're ready.
Okay, great. So what you have before you is a side-by-side comparison of enhanced infrastructure finance districts and AB2 or CREAs, the Community Revitalization and Investment Authorities. The first column is the former redevelopment agency. Now, we have gone through this in jobs, so please forgive me, because I know that some of you are on that committee too, for being repetitive. But the CREAs, or AB2, is a unique opportunity to access funding, particularly in areas that are historically underutilized. Now, in response to the Ad hoc Committee on Jobs, we have analyzed statistical data requirements for forming CREAs and council districts and in former redevelopment areas, and we'll present that in the next Ad hoc Jobs Committee, and we have maps. We're finalizing a report on that we can introduce on the record at the next Jobs Committee, which I believe is tomorrow. Yeah, okay, great. So many of you had former redevelopment areas and specific project areas, but they weren't always as effective in areas that were highly stressed or distressed because they were not able to generate sufficient tax increment. For example, redevelopment project areas in South LA and in Watts were restricted to commercial corridors and included some limited residential properties. And given that commercial property doesn't turn over as frequently as residential property, for example, it was not reassessed at a rate that generated significant tax increment for reinvestment back into those particular project areas. And so in many cases, they had to borrow from other project areas that did generate significant tax increment. For example, South Los Angeles drew a lot of tax increment from downtown Los Angeles. So as you move forward on, your review of whether you want an EIFD or a CREA or overlay a JEDI zone in either one or both, you should look at how you draw these districts to create opportunity and to create a platform. If you'd like, I can go through the side-by-sides. I think the thing that distinguishes an EIFD from a CREA more than anything else, the CREAs, obviously, they're formed by resolution or joint powers agreement. That's why they're called investment authorities. But the thing that's so directly applicable with a CREA in an area that is highly stressed or distressed is that the area median income has less than 80% of the state area median income, that the unemployment rate is 3% higher than the state average, that the crime rate should be 5% higher than the state average. And then what would be most helpful to those who have districts that are older in infrastructure is quantifying deteriorated infrastructure, sidewalks, streets, curbs, gutters, sewer lines, those sorts of things, lighting, and then, of course, the presence of deteriorated commercial properties. That allows us to capitalize in a way that is really structured for areas that are flatlined in many ways. EIFDs, while they can be formed by resolution of the legislative body, and while you don't need to go to the public for a vote, you do need to ultimately go for a vote when you're issuing bonds to monetize a debt for investment. So you can see the difference in terms of their applicability based on the levels of blight that may be present within a community. I don't know if you want me to stop right now.
Well, anything that given your background and knowledge, anything jumps out in terms of being especially helpful, useful, interesting, something we should be...
Yeah.
utilizing?
Yes, and, you'll see that in jobs, when we pull the maps out, for each council district and the former project areas. And it would be no surprise to you for those areas that have three of these filters: high crime rate, high unemployment, deteriorated infrastructure, and then the area median income issues, that a CREA would be far more relevant to them in many ways, to the area in many
Those
ways.
three basic requirements are for both?
I'm sorry?
Or those are three basic requirements for both under each program?
No, EIFD doesn't have those filters that the CREA has. So the EIFD would be broader. There's one thing about an EIFD that you might find interesting, and that is the AB, let me see, is it 313, which encourages cities, local governments to develop, they're called Sustainable Communities Act, or a strategy, a sustainable community strategy, along with an alternative planning strategy. So if you include that in an EIFD, and the whole point of that is to create projects which will reduce your green emissions, to make clean projects, or clean air projects, you can get some relief from certain aspects of CEQA, which would be very appealing to developers, because it would make a project move through in a more expedited fashion.
Now, they both, I guess, require some county participation.
Yes.
Both at the same level? Is there a little less restriction under one than the other in terms of the level of county support that's necessary? And could you just help us understand what the level of county support needs to be, or?
That has to be negotiated, just like in the former redevelopment areas. And the level of participation would be based on their level of overlap, interest, engagement, and how much tax increment they're willing to set aside. Now, they have taken their boomerang money, if you will, and decided to use that for their economic development. So, maybe some challenges there, and as you know, school districts cannot participate, but transportation authorities and water districts can. But the county is really the big nut to crack, because they're the ones with the most money. So it's something that has to be negotiated with them.
Each one.
Yeah.
Members, any thoughts or comments?
So then, and the CREAs, school districts can participate since?
Cannot.
And the
no.
CREAs? It's blank.
It's blank. Yeah, you're right. I'll have to check. I don't want to make an assumption that, because it's money dedicated towards education, and if you follow the logic on that, it's probable that they cannot. Am I correct? They cannot. Okay. This is CLA.
Okay. Talk to me about the benefits with respect to, or repeat what you talked about with respect to the benefits around CEQA and CEQA abuse, and where we may be able to be shielded from the abuse of CEQA.
Well, in adopting, if you adopt a program, a JEDI program, and in the JEDI program, maybe you would consider something like states adopting or including the state's Sustainable Communities Program that was set forth in Senate Bill 375. The reason that would be attractive, make a platform that's attractive to a developer, is because it gives them some relief from CEQA, because the environmental issues that CEQA would normally address in a much longer, more elongated, more public hearing fashion would be incorporated into a sustainable communities strategy as part of this bill. And so that could be viewed as an incentive to a developer, because they're not going to be in a long, protracted, drawn-out process, because they would have to address environmental issues up front and incorporate it in their planning strategy in developing a project. So that's the attractiveness aspect of that, is that it saves time. That's all.
Any other questions? Members?
Thank you for this report, and looking forward to deeper discussion tomorrow with the completed report. The SB 375 Sustainable Communities Program, are there eligibility filters for what communities the city could apply that to? And does the city actually need to take an action in order to qualify a community to be able to do that, or is that driven entirely by state law?
Well, it appears to be driven by state law. The umbrella piece is the metropolitan planning organizations, which we would obviously have to establish. And then within that, you prepare the sustainable communities strategy, and it is included as part of a regional transportation plan, so it forces us to integrate with the MTA.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So the whole goal is an environmental upfront rather than elongating through CEQA.
Okay. So does it have to be transit-oriented then? It's development in the vicinity of transit hubs, or?
It doesn't specifically state that, but I'm going to, it's geared towards regional planning, and it's tied towards a regional transportation plan. So, transportation hub can be many things. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily need to be a light rail. It can be where buses make a confluence point or that sort of thing. So maybe we can interpret it to say that wherever people are moving across the districts and across the city.
Right. And so I guess sort of under the same reasoning, if we were to adopt a JEDI zone kind of program, we could do a city equivalent of the CEQA relief under SB 375
Yeah.
with regard to expedited planning and building and safety and
Right.
so on, approval of.
Yes, and I was going to bring that up to you tomorrow in greater detail, because I think that that's an opportunity that we could actually apply on a citywide basis on major transportation corridors. And, whether it's light rail, buses, intermodal, connectors.
Great.
Yeah, everybody has that.
And then just so that we're all clear, the AB2 CREAs have eligibility criteria. The EIFDs really don't. I mean, we can apply those pretty much anywhere. But they're not mutually exclusive either, are they? Or are
They are not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
I think the one that is more exclusive in terms of filtering is a CREA, of course. But, if you decide you want to establish an EIFD for any number of reasons, whether it's infrastructure or you've got a concentration of water or whatever, however you want to define it. Whereas the CREA actually has those filters that are based on very clearly set forth definitions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Well, thank you. Thank you for the report. I know we all look forward to seeing these maps, and we're going to continue the matter, but let me just encourage you to touch base with each of the council offices and have a discussion with them so they're aware of what's potentially possible or to identify some project site areas that they may have.
Yes, we have a draft of the maps, and everyone will get to see them. We're cleaning them up right now, but it'll give you some idea where you might want to start,
Okay.
each one.
All right. Great. So we will continue that item. And members, any more discussion on it? That will be the order. Anything else before us, Madam Clerk? Mr. Clerk.
No,
Madam Clerk.
and there are no public comment cards either.
No comment cards? Okay. Is there any other item before this body at this time?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Then this meeting is adjourned.